Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop. About 5.5 years ago, we shot a video on cutting dovetails really fast. It took us 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and I'm not here to try to beat that record. Instead, today what I want to do is show you a technique that I picked up out of the book, The Encyclopaedia of Furniture Making by Ernest Joyce. And although it's not the exact same as he did it, it's a modification or a variation of it, and I think it's a really great way of getting precise second cuts, that is on the pin board. It's not applicable every time, but when you can use it, it may really speed things up. So let me show you what I'm talking about. By the way, I've also cut down the number of tools that I need to use. A couple pieces of northern white pine, nice and easy to cut and chisel. Same thickness. First thing I do is take my marking gauge, set on top of one board, and drop it down until the cutter touches the second board. Lock it, and then because they're the same thickness, I can use that same setting on both pieces. On the tailboard, we have to scribe all the way around. On the pin board, because we don't have half pins to remove, that being this one, we only do the two faces. Put the cutter away, keep it sharp. Now, put the tailboard in the vise. I'm not going to lay this out, I'll just do it by eye, but you may want to lay it out using various methods. You can get pretty good at this after a while, you won't even need to do that. And I'm going to divide this up by about 3, and again I'm just eyeballing it. There. Alright, now I'll come in. The cuts across the end have to be square. So I'll set that up. Stop at the baseline. And then come back the other way. Now what we're going to do is use this piece as it is before we remove the waste. I'm just getting rid of some of this fuzz on the back side. Take my pin board, put it in the vise, and get it flush with the top of the plane. Set the plane back and put the tailboard on top. Now I've got a little piece of steel, which happens to be a piece of saw blade material. And because the marking gauge was set to be the exact thickness, I can flush these up with my thumbs on the back side, but I've got to offset the top piece by the thickness of the saw blade. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is use these little teeth on the end of my saw to reach down through and leave a nice deep beginning of a saw kerf on the top of the board. Now, the only thing I have to do is offset it the opposite way. For the second mark, again, make sure that it's flush. Seems to be right. Okay, now we can go in and do the other side. As I mentioned, this won't work in all cases, but when it does, it's pretty convenient. Okay, so I've already got my kerf started. Now I've just got to go in and make plumb cuts down to the baseline. And a bit of practice, and those plumb cuts will just happen naturally. I make my saw extra heavy so that gravity can actually train you on what plumb is. Now we'll get the other side. Right, now I'll use my fret saw, drop down to the bottom, and saw as close to that line as I can get without going below, obviously. The reason I say saw as close as you can, because if you have to saw to remove the bulk of the waste, the better job you do at sawing, the less you have to chisel. Now I'm just going to throw this tailboard back in real quick and remove the waste in between the tails. I use a 12.5 teeth per inch skip tooth, 5-inch scroll saw blade, and the skip tooth means it'll cut faster, and 12.5 teeth per inch is about as coarse a blade as you can get that will still fit down the dovetail saw kerf. And all I'm concerned about with that particular saw is speed anyway. It's not a finished cut. It's just for wasting material. Now when you're cutting down into the corner, make sure you don't go too far. You don't want to score the side of the tail. Now I'll set the tailboard on top of the pin board. I've got a little too much material there, so I'll back that off with a preliminary chop first, and then go down what amounts to be about half the thickness. Get the chisel in close to the corner so that I don't leave any material in there. Actually, I'll flip that over so if I hit it, it's on the inside. And then just chop down until you feel the two meet. Don't want any debris in between the two pieces when you're chopping. It'll leave bad dents. Okay. Choke up on the chisel. So if I slip, it's not as dangerous. Make sure the corners are clean. And make sure those outside corners are clean. Often there's a little bit of material left in there. Alright, that looks good. Now, clean the waste out of here. Again, if you left too much material, a preliminary chop really helps. Now when I do this, I want to angle the chisel to follow the slope of the pin, and that can really cut down the work in the next step. It's another one of those situations where you're making the chop anyway, so why not make it as accurately as you can. And then finish from the face side in tight to the corner, follow the slope. Now I start the chop with the chisel sitting fully engaged with the scribe line before I angle it. That way you make sure you don't end up having it twist on you, and that would leave you a divot along your baseline, which you don't want. Okay, so that one's clean. That one is pretty clean. Get rid of that debris. A little bit left right there, and that one is one side clean, one side wasn't. Okay, now just before you assemble, just chamfer the inside edge of the tails, and this actually not only helps the joint go together, but more importantly it prevents the glue, if I was gluing it, I'm not right now, but prevents the glue from all getting shoved off the bottom of the joint. Now I'll grab a mallet, put one joint over the other, carefully tap at home, then we'll flush that up and see how it looks. Flip it over, do the pin side. Okay, here you go. Nice clean dovetail, didn't take very long, and it's an extremely accurate way of tracing one piece onto the other. My layout wasn't so hot. That one's fat, that one's not quite, and that one's skinny. But could have taken more time to do that more carefully. Anyway, visit my website, RobCosman.com. If you're interested, we produce a half-hour training episode 5 days a week. You're welcome to go on there. Actually, just contact us by email and we'll give you a free month and let you try it out. You can also visit RobCosman.com, where we sell the tools that we make, particularly our dovetail saw that's got a lot of attention. Very precise tool. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you next time in the shop.